Should Britain spend more on nuclear weapons? 020-7862-2222 is the number. The Prime Minister has this morning confirmed the government will spend $15 billion on its nuclear warhead programme in a bid to counter the growing threat posed by Russia. We'll also build up to 12 new nuclear-powered attack submarines. And there are talks ongoing about the purchase of new jets to carry nuclear weapons. It's all about nuclear, isn't it? I'll just show you what Keir Starmer said this morning about the reasons we're doing it.
If you want to deter conflict, then the best way to do that is to prepare for conflict. We cannot ignore the threat that Russia poses. We've seen what's happened in Ukraine just over 3 years ago. Those tanks rolled across a border, something I think all of us thought we wouldn't really see in our lifetimes.
If we've got the money, here's the question: how do we spend it? How do we spend it on it? Is he going in the right direction with all this nuclear talk? Well, let's just see some options here. So option one is you spend it on troops. There's the SAS out in the jungle. You get brilliant value with the SAS. They really pack a punch. Option two, technology. Just buy loads of drones. You'll see later on we do the story about Ukraine's drone attack on Russia. Extraordinary. Option three, hire a 19-year-old, or loads of them, who are good at computers, to just hack all your enemies. Because that's the modern world, right? The fourth option might seem a bit outdated now, to just build more and more nuclear launch sites. I mean, yes, impressive when they go off, but as it happens, you're thinking, wait. Is this where we need to put the money? Does it work? Russia's got nukes. They're still fighting Ukraine. They haven't been able to use them. Let's look at the army numbers here. Fascinating. 1649, new model army, 44,000. And then in the middle of the 1600s, you've got Cromwell's army of 68,000, 92,000 after, there we are, the Napoleonic Wars, round about then, 1800s. Then it goes up to 430,000 for the Boer War. And then 100 years ago, we had 3.8 million World War I, 1945, about the same number, World War II. And then it drops. And the drop is really extraordinary here. So 2000, we have 100,000, about the same number as can get into Wembley Stadium. And then gradually, we have the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, and that keeps the numbers high. But once the conflict ends in Afghanistan, down the numbers come until we get to May 2024, and we've only got 72,500 soldiers. So yeah, when people say, oh, we're going to have technology, we're going to have nuclear weapons with fire and smoke and everything, is the correct answer? No, let's just get good old-fashioned troops, boots, soldiers. Let's get our army back up to strength. What do you think, Zack?
I think real security looks like making sure that veterans aren't homeless on the streets. I think it means about making sure we've got books in our schools and that we're protecting our hospitals. Of course, we need to protect this country, but as you've just said, these are outdated.
How does that help us if we get invaded?
Well, this is the point. We need to not go to outdated models of what was going on in the 60s and 70s. And actually, we should be looking at how do we defend this country in terms of being a regional power, as opposed to kind of outdated models of being a global power.
So just stop people invading us, basically.
Well, to hear Keir Starmer say today, if you want to deter conflict, prepare for conflict, that will seem absurd to most people. The way you deter conflict is by talking about peace and diplomacy and absolutely having national security. But that doesn't look like...
Russia don't care about peace. They don't care about that. They've invaded Ukraine in an act of war. They don't care about education and books, and I think it sounds lovely, but quite frankly, that's not reality. This world is dangerous, and it's
the world is dangerous. So putting more nuclear weapons into a world that's dangerous makes no sense at all.
It deters other countries from invading us. I absolutely love the idea.
We've had nuclear weapons, and since 1945, we've had horrific conflicts in the world. It has not helped at all.
It absolutely deters those particular countries from invading us, and quite frankly, we've got countries like Russia, the US. Even Israel have nuclear weapons. We absolutely should have nuclear weapons. Now, the question is the, £15 billion being spent on a new nuclear weapon that is basically, it's able to be used on the battlefield? The question is that money better spent on a nuclear weapon, or, as you said, Jeremy, as you very eloquently outlined, potentially on other things? I think maybe cybersecurity is something that should be looked into more. The fact that if we were invaded tomorrow, we probably wouldn't be able to physically defend ourselves, I think is really worrying.
I mean, I don't know whether we can use a nuclear weapon. I think that Russia, Ukraine, Ukraine has showed us that, we're going to talk later on about Russia being slammed by Ukrainian drones, that even Putin isn't going to respond with a nuclear weapon.
No.
I don't think.
Well, we hope not.
So what are they for then?
Well, it's mutually assured destruction. If somebody will not use a nuclear weapon on us because we won't use it on them, and we don't want to use a nuclear weapon. We don't want to ever have to use this ever. But if every other country...
Why did India attack Pakistan recently if they're mutually assured destruction? They've both got nuclear weapons.
Well, it means that they're not going to use them, right? If India have them, Pakistan want them. If Russia have them, we should have them. I think that's quite frankly how things should work.
I think the point you're making that's more important, though, is around cybersecurity and also the climate crisis and also increasing risks in different ways. And I think we need to talk about the real security that's happening in 2025.
We're talking about war here. We're talking about the danger of being in a war. We can't win.
One nuclear weapon doesn't cancel out another nuclear weapon. Essentially, if we were hit with a nuclear weapon, would we then make that choice to kill millions of innocent people just in retaliation and vengeance?
Probably.
I don't think that's a sensible way to move towards
Probably would. I
security.
mean, if Russia put a nuclear bomb in the UK, I reckon we'd hit that red button pretty quickly.
Yeah. OK, John in Gloucestershire. Do we need all these nukes, John?
I don't believe so, Jeremy. No, not at all.
Would you go for... I mean, we gave some other options there. You could get the teenage hackers in, you could buy drones, or you could increase the size of the SAS.
Well, I don't think there's any need of it. I don't think Putin is a direct threat. If he wanted to, he would have crossed by land, sea or air by now. I think the West, the leaders, in my opinion, are the threat. Our own leaders are a threat. They're trying to draw us into a war.
Okay,
they
really?
want a war.
Yeah.
And he's not falling for it. I'm not painting him as a saint. He's no means a saint.
You don't say.
But I think our own leaders are our own danger.
Is it?
And
should we not? Is it not?
Borders.
You wouldn't want us to pile into the border in Ukraine and try and help the Ukrainians?
Well, it's not our war, Jeremy. We have our own problems here. The best deterrent is not to get involved.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
Not to get involved.
Go on.
It's not our war. We need to protect our own borders, which we're not doing.
I agree with protecting our own borders, John. Would you have said the same thing when Nazi Germany invaded Poland? It's not our war, not our business. We shouldn't get involved.
Take your time. All right, John, we'll let you go. I think we've got tangled in the duvet there. Graham in Glasgow, hello.
Good morning.
What do you think, Graham?
I think it's a very expensive PR stunt. Keir Starmer kidding on his tough and going to defend this country. Nobody's going to use nuclear weapons. It's a waste of money.
So where would you put the money? If you put it into defence, what would you put it into?
Boots on the ground, military and tech.
It's true. The funny thing about the Ukraine war is that it is an old-fashioned war. Does it make you think we just need more soldiers?
Well, I think there is something to that. And again, looking at the ways that I think there's a bigger problem here, which is we talk about defence spending in terms of a percentage of GDP.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Blitz, for instance, that would have been great for our GDP in terms of suddenly you have weapons factories and you're rebuilding things. I don't think that's a good, sensible measure that most people would look on, which is about the well-being of the country. And so I think more war, more military, more industrial complex is not well measured if you're just using it as an arbitrary percentage.
If the Green...
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, if you become leader of the Green Party and you form the next government and Russia try to invade us, would you surrender?
No, absolutely not. And I think Reem asked a good question there in relation to Nazi Germany. I'm not a pacifist. There's absolute reasons why you need to have military and you need to have weapons. But also at the same time, I think you need to put peace, diplomacy and real security first before you move to military.
Okay.
I completely agree. It's different to some of your Green Party colleagues, though. I mean, many people within the party are complete pacifists and think that we should absolutely be against war wholeheartedly. And
well, I think we should be against war, but I don't think we should be against defence and our own security.
Absolutely. And I think that when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine issue, I've spoken to a few Ukrainians that really, really feel incredibly passionate about it in particular. But what I find fascinating is those people haven't left. People still live in Ukraine and they will die on their property if they have to. They will defend their country until death. Okay. And I don't think that, I don't know if Britain really has that care for our country.
Oh, wow. I think we absolutely do, but we haven't been tested for, a good few years. Thank you, Graham in Glasgow. Sarah in Gloucestershire, hi.
Hello.
Is this money for nuclear weapons a bad idea, or do you think we need it?
Ukraine had nuclear weapons.
I don't think they do.
They gave them up on the understanding that
Correct.
they would be protected.
Yeah.
Now, had they retained those nuclear weapons, perhaps Putin wouldn't have attacked them. I don't agree with nuclear weapons in principle, but, if we have if Putin goes mad and presses his red button, maybe if we've got a red button to press as well, it might make him think twice.
I suppose one of the dangers, if Ukraine had nuclear weapons, that Russia would immediately have tried to blow them up, and that would have been day one of the war. And
got a nuclear disaster.
Well, you might have a nuclear disaster inside Ukraine. That's true. But it's a good point, Sarah, that Ukraine is an example where they've given up a deterrent and they've got invaded. So
I think there's a question too about where do you store nuclear weapons. So there's Lakenheath in Suffolk, and people in Suffolk are saying, actually, we don't want America's nuclear weapons stored here. Now, we don't know whether they're there or not because America understandably won't say. But I think it doesn't make you more secure to have nuclear weapons. In fact, it makes
Maybe
you
we should
more
not
at
be
risk.
giving up the Chagos Islands to Chinese-influenced Mauritius. Maybe we could keep nuclear weapons there.
OK, thank you, Sarah. Clive in Gloucestershire, hi.
Hiya, mate. All right.
All right, mate. What do you think?
Well, he said we're going to build 12 new nuclear submarines. Can you tell me where's the money coming from? We can't build nothing.
We've deliberately
We've got
avoided
no
that
money.
because obviously we owe £3 trillion and we're borrowing every single day. We're living beyond
But
our
we can
means.
afford 12 new nuclear submarines. That'll
Yeah.
never happen.
Well, you've got to print it. You'll have to print the money. And then Reem will go absolutely
No,
mad
I'll
about
go
that.
mental over the
Yeah,
inflation.
she'll
The
go
pound in your
potty.
pocket will be worth so
Yeah.
much less.
It's true, though. We do hear there's no money for free school meals, there's no money for public transport or new trains, but there is money for
I
nuclear
don't think
submarines.
everyone
It
should
just
get
seems
free school
odd.
meals.
I think,
quite
well,
frankly. What's happened in London where every single state school child...
we can't go on to free school
I'd
meals now.
criticise Sadiq Khan for a lot of things, but free school meals is one of the best things he's ever done.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just the lack of... Clive, what are you were just worried we don't have any money. Is that right?
Yeah, build the army up, but 12 new nuclear submarines, it's never going to happen. I think everybody knows that.
Thank you. I remember Jeremy Corbyn, when he was Labour leader, saying we should
What, to
have...
give them all up?
No, he
Disarmament?
said we should have nuclear submarines that don't have nuclear missiles, but we say they do. And I thought, that's
Well,
brilliant.
I mean, no, it isn't.
The trouble is you can't announce it. So
no,
as
you've
soon
got
as
to
you
keep that one a
announce
secret.
Keith in Leeds, hello.
Hello.
What would you like to say, Keith?
Oh, yeah, I used to work on the Polaris. Done 4 years on them. Loved it. The submarine is supposed to carry 16 missiles. It doesn't. It only carries one. The reason why it only carries one's enough to do the damage. If you carry more than one, there's a good chance the submarine will break its back.
Yeah.
Waste of money.
So what, you could carry 15 warheads and you only carry one on those subs?
16.
16? And you only carry one?
1/6, but we only carry one.
Wow. And did you ever fire it in an exercise?
No, the only time you do fire them, well, yeah, I suppose it is exercise. You go over to the States and you fire, it's just a dummy missile to make sure that that's the only exercise you have.
Got to, yeah. Thank you very much. Later, it's the papers and everything else. Find out why Peter Crouch has been asking fans not to share a video of him playing golf, and of course they all are.